any mathematical model in economics is very far from reality. There is a scientific similarity. As my supervisor said to me 50 years ago, this is done by the people, by those who do not know mathematics well enough to be a mathematician and do not understand the real economy enough to be an economist. Economic policy is different. Ideally, this is making decisions about improving people's well-being and therefore about the efficiency of the economy as a whole.
I never really considered economics a hard science. I think that economics has always had a little bit of physics envy. You know, it would like to think of itself as being entirely mathematical, entirely something that could be cooked up in ivory towers and not really tested in the real world. But frankly, as we've found in 2008, as we've just found in the midst of COVID, markets don't always act the way we think they're going to act in the way that the models predict.
Economic science and economic engineer should be the two sides of the same coin. So they should be complementary. They should help each other. So economic science or academic economics should provide the analytical instruments and framework and conceptual framework to understand the world we're in. And they should provide models, tools, concepts, simulation to get a better understanding of the reality.
So what are models? Are models abstract academic research, or are they part of policy making? It doesn't really matter. They are the ways that you understand what's happening around you.
So I don't think that really in real life we have really to make such a big distinction. And I think that if you want to be really a great economist, you have to have an interest in how actually economic policy is made, and it's how it is prosecuted.
In academia, we have the luxury of making up worlds and studying them. And so making assumptions for tractability or for trying to understand something. And I'm a theorist, so I play that game as well. And I've learned a lot from these models. We sometimes like to be motivated by questions in the real world, and we sometimes like to make policy prescriptions, but we never have to really bother with how the policy would come about, or most importantly, the elephants in the room that may have been left on the sideline of our models.
In economic policy, in my experience, we realize that we are not living in the first best world or ideal world. We are probably living in the second best or maybe fourth best world and run by the fifth best bureaucracy. And we can't complain with that. Yeah, we have to work within constraint. In academic, we can talk about the ideal solution. Yeah, we can assume about the ideal solution, but in reality, is a very different.
Economic theory has never been able to illuminate the real problems that practitioners of economics face, whether you're functioning at the level of government, at the level of a corporation, of a bank, of a central bank, the OECD, the IMF. In the end, policy is driven by politics, by vested interests, by the profit margins of corporations. And then at the end of the day, you can come up with any justification using the mathematical models and the economic models.
We have this crisis moment where we actually have to acknowledge that we run out of policy, or at least some tools or some instruments. And then, as we see, we are designing and we are writing policy, we're engineering policy that is actually preceding theory. Right? So this is another kind of occasion, because we have been overtaken by the facts, right? And the theory could not keep up with the facts, and as such, we have to, try and keep up with this policy making.
So economic close to policy making is evidence-based economic policy, which I think is the most useful way to to think about economics. Economics should be very much that. We should be humble because the issues are extremely complicated, and we will not be able to answer all type of questions.
Economic science, like any other science, also wants to deepen existing knowledge so we can further knowledge and raise the potential of understanding even deeper questions in the future. Policymakers also have a heavy responsibility because there's an impact about the decisions that they try to make that affects people's daily lives.